Hi, Walter Box on the Box Rock and Celluloid, Bot Brat for short. I'm Edward Box. So I did my great opening tracks. So let's do some bad opening tracks now for albums. So I've got 10 of them. It's actually really hard to find albums that open with bad tracks. Or so these are more like tracks I maybe wouldn't have picked. I think it's a fairly natural thing that a band and a producer will zone and hone in on what the best tracks are. So it's very, very hard to fuck it up, really, I think, in terms of your opening track. Things have to go quite wrong with the sequencing. These days, albums tend to be front loaded, but bands are quite happy to kind of put great tracks near the end and just have a proper listening journey. It's not like that now. But I'm going to look at Van Halen. I'm actually going to pick two Van Halen examples. And they're both songs I like, but they're not maybe what they should have opened with. So on Van Halen 2, it opens with You're No Good, which is a cover version. And I've always really liked it. I think it's a really good cover version. It's got a great guitar solo, and I really like the intro. But you've got to think, why not have somebody get me a doctor? Down, 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 bang, down. That would just be perfect. That's the obvious opener. And then going to Dance the Night Away, then You're No Good could have opened side 2 or something. I don't know. Maybe Light Up the Sky could have been the last track. I don't know, but it's not the obvious opener. If I was looking at the album, it's probably out of the 10 tracks. I've never been massive on Bottoms Up, although I'm kind of liking it more now, but it's probably me 8th or 9th least favourite track on that album, I would say. Probably my 9th if I was picked Bottoms Up last. And it's the same with A Different Kind of Truth. I think the circumstances with Tattoo opening album are different. I think the reason is there's not a keyboard song on A Different Kind of Truth. And Tattoo is either a song they decided to put keyboards on, or the record company or there's people around the band like, look, you should put Tattoo on first because it's got keyboards on. Obviously, because you remember Van Halen's big hits have keyboards. Jump, I'll Wait, the stuff with Sammy Hagar. But when you listen to that album and then She's a Woman comes in, it's so obvious that should be the opening track. To people familiar with Halen's history, they would know She's a Woman from the Van Halen demos. But what they did with it on A Different Kind of Truth, it really kicked ass. I like Tattoo, but it's kind of atypical for the album. It should come later in the mix, but they decided to release that first, and I think it didn't help the album overall, but that's a funny one. So those are my two choices there. I should say Halen, Where Are All the Good Times Gone, a song I like, a good cover on Dive It Down, but why not open with Hang 'Em High? There would be another example of Halen sort of not picking the right opener. So my next choice might be a bit controversial, but it's like, I remember reading the title for this track and just thinking, oh my God, that's like the best title ever. It's going to be fucking amazing. And I do like the track, but it's never quite lived up to its title, and it's Judas is Rising. So if you imagine back in 2005, early 2005, when the Angel of Retribution track listing was released, you see the title Judas is Rising, you just think, like I just did there, didn't I? But it's a funny track that it's got the cool sort of reference to Victims of Changes, but my mate pointed this out. They've chosen this sort of sluggish double bass feel. The white bolt of lightning, it maybe would have been better with a different feel. I expected something more up tempo. And the second track, Deal with the Devil, is a great track, is the best track on the album. So Judas is Rising, again, although from an atmosphere and title point of view, it's not quite the opening I thought it would be. My next choice is Dog and Butterfly by Heart. So the opening track on that album is done in the studio with fake live noise, I think. It's Cooked with Fire, which just seems strange. It's kind of a rocker track. But High Time is a much better track. That just opens with some kind of nice, quiet, sort of muted guitar. That's better. The track after Cooked with Fire is Hijinks. And what's weird about the Dog and Butterfly album is it's kind of backwards loaded to me. It starts with the weakest track, and then it has the next weakest track, then the next weakest, and then you have Straight On, and then side 2 is just fucking incredible. And Straight On's awesome. But it takes to track 5 to have 5 amazing tracks on the bat, and it's an odd choice, but High Time is a really, really cool track. So Dog and Butterfly is just odd opener. The next one, again, might be controversial, is Volume 4 by Black Sabbath. So Wheels of Confusion. I like the track, but compared to other Sabbath openers, War Pigs, Black Sabbath, Sweet Leaf, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, Hole in the Sky in the Aussie era, Never Say Die even, Backstreet Kids, it just doesn't compare. It kind of is quite long. It's kind of got a strange form to it. Maybe they'd have been better off opening with Snowblind, or Supernaut would have been amazing. I mean, Supernaut's just a perfect opening track, or even Tomorrow's Dream. So Volume 4, I've always found, for me, Wheels of Confusion's kind of always been a kind of 6, 7 out of 10 track. Taken by Force by the Scorpions. Now, I like Steam Rock Fever, but this is the track that was the straw, the track that broke Uli John Roth's back. He just thought it was too commercial, too daft. It's got a kind of glammy rock element. You've got the kind of, it almost sounds like Japanese girls on the chorus. It's quite fun, but considering the sort of darker gothic elements and Hendrix-infused stuff of the album, would it not have been better to open up, or lyrics is controversial now, He's a Woman, She's a Man, or We'll Burn the Sky, which is perfect. So, it's, as I go on, it's sort of, there's other tracks I prefer, and there's tracks like Your Light or Gotta Be Free that I prefer on Taken by Force. But I do like Steam Rock Fever. Next choice is, it's the best album by this band, and I do really like this track. But as you go along, you realise that it's kind of atypical of the rest of the album. It's the kind of single track. It's got the hand claps, and it worked for them. It's Rock and Roll Damnation by AC/DC. So this track got enough traction. It charted. It got them on top of the pops. Without this track, you're not going to get Highway to Hell being as successful as it is. But to me, I like it. But it's the next track. I think is it Down Payment Blues. Gone Shooting, Give Me a Bullet, Kicks in the Teeth. You've just got amazing sort of deep DC tracks, and this track, I remember my brother had the single, and I've always liked it, but compared to the rest of the album, it's quite different. So none of these tracks I dislike. I mean, Cook with Fire, I'm not that keen on. Another one, and I actually really like this track. But when they released it as a single, as the lead cut, it didn't do well. It flopped, and then they were panicking. They were like, shit, we're millions of dollars in debt, and it's Def Leppard. So the opening track of the Hysteria album is Women. Now, I really like this track. It's actually one of my favourite tracks, but by Def Leppard, and certainly on that album. But it's quite sluggish. Something a bit more up-tempo, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Armageddon It, Animal, would kick things off better, and I think, it's the first track on the album, let's release it as a single, maybe led them to believe that would be the right first song. It paid off later on. My second to last choice is Change off the Wilder Willie and the Innocents. So it's by UFO, infinitely UFO's best album with Tonka Chapman. A lot of people think it's a genuine UFO classic. I think it's very, very good. I do like Change, but Long Gone, Making Moves, I mean, they would have been, Long Gone could have been a really interesting atmospheric opener. Making Moves with that riff would be better. I Couldn't Get It Right. Some people don't like that. But I think it is a good track, but there's better tracks on the album. I always feel like an opening track should be the best or one of the very best tracks and become a concert staple. And I think a lot of these tracks are picked weren't or haven't, and I think that's one of the things. So Judas Priest played Judas is Rising a lot, but there's better tracks on that album. So my last choice, and I think this is a really good example of this, and I just listened to it. It has its fans, but I think the chorus really lets it down. The actual intro is really good. The production's tight. The mix is great. It's got loads of energy, but the key change in the chorus, and it's just bloody hell. This really isn't a great opener, and it's Invaders by Iron Maiden. So The Number of the Beast is a strange album, in that there's 3 tracks that everyone can name on this album, even if you don't know Maiden that much. Children, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Run to the Hills, and The Number of the Beast. Children of the Damned. Then you got 22 Acacia Avenue and The Prisoner. And these are tracks that have been played live at various points. And obviously Hallowed Be Thy Name and Number of the Beast are real stalwarts of the set, and Run to the Hills comes in quite a lot. But the two tracks that people don't know, Gangland and Invaders. And Invaders opens the album. And Invaders, you know, it's not a good chorus. Yet to open what is like a really important album, I think one of the reasons people prefer Power Slave and Peace of Mind is obviously it's got fantastic openers. Where Eagles Dare, one of the great opening metal songs, I picked on the last one. And then Aces High off Power Slave is just fantastic. I talked to my mate about this and I said, well, you've picked opening when he said it's got to be Number of the Beast. And I think it's a good point. You've got the spoken word intro. It's kind of spooky. And then the riff comes in. Or Run to the Hills. I know people not like that song, but it's really catchy, Run to the Hills, you know. So that would be, I think that's quite an interesting example where Invaders is probably the worst track on Number of the Beast album. It's either that or Gangland. Generally speaking, I know, like I say, they've got the fans. Okay, so that's my bad openers. Not an easy one to do. I think this should have been called Better Openers when they could have used a better opener. It's probably the wrong title, but anyway. Remember, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.